Hello there. Now remember we've read Mr. Man Go to the Doctors? Now this time's a little different. Tonight's bedtime story, second one out of three, is called Mr. Man Go to the Dentist. It is written by Roger Hargreaves with pictures by Adam Hargreaves. It was time for little Miss Sunshine to have a checkup at the dentist, but she was very nervous. "You'll be fine," said little Miss Wise, "as long as you have brushed your teeth twice a day, like me. It's important to clean your teeth thoroughly," she added. Mr. Slow only cleans his teeth once a day, but that is because he is so slow. It takes him from breakfast until lunchtime to brush his teeth, tooth by tooth, by tooth, by tooth. Everyone cleans their teeth. You can use an ordinary toothbrush, or you can use an electric toothbrush. Or, if you are the richest man in the world, you can hire someone to clean your teeth for you. How ridiculous! If you don't clean your teeth, you might end up looking like little Miss Naughty. Although she was just playing a trick on her dentist, Mrs. Bright. Everyone needs to go for a checkup at the dentist at least once a year. Everyone except for Mr. Bump. He tends to go more often. Bump. Poor old Mr. Bump. Little Miss Sunshine arrived early for her appointment at the dentist. She had to wait in the waiting room with Mr. Muddle. Little Miss Sunshine nearly fell off her chair when she caught sight of his teeth. But it was not as awful as it looked. He had just muddled up his tube of toothpaste with a tube of food colouring. Mrs. Bright had a lot of interest in patients, some of whom which she looked forward to seeing, and some of whom she didn't, like Mr. Tickle. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Little Miss Tiny was much better behaved, but she was still not an easy patient. It was very difficult to see into such a tiny mouth. Mrs. Bright had to use a magnifying glass. In fact, Mrs. Bright had lots of difficult patients. Little Miss Stubborn refused to open her mouth. Little Miss Somersault could not sit still, and Mr. Nosy's nose got in the way. And Mr. Topsy-Turvy was all upside down. But she also had lots of good patients. Mr. Strong had very strong teeth, so strong that he could bite into a coconut. Mr. Fussy had very, very clean teeth, and Mr. Perfect had perfect teeth. Mrs. Bright particularly enjoyed little Miss Chatterbox's visits. It was one time she was able to get a word in edgeways, as little Miss Chatterbox couldn't talk with her mouth wide open. Little Miss Sunshine was still a little nervous when Mrs. Bright called her into the examination room. Little Miss Sunshine sat in the chair and opened her mouth wide. "How? Well, I never!" cried little Miss Bright. "You have?" Little Miss Sunshine held her breath. "The sunniest smile in town! I bet that tricked you." That story was called Mr. Men Go to the Dentist. See you soon for our final story.